Well, good morning, everybody. We are Living Love Live this morning, and we are in the School of Discernment talking about the gates of discernment and learning how to process and filter everything through the Father, in the beginning, God. So we talked yesterday, just a quick review, if in case you're joining us for the first time, we talked about the 12 gates, basically, and the frequencies of the gates and how we stand in the gap with these different gates, for ourselves and between our mind and our heart, guarding our heart, learning to discern and perceive a greater revelation with everything that comes to us by filtering it through the Father instead of through our own um, thoughts, will, cultural understanding. We focus and discern everything through the Father, through His Word. And so we start out with the 12 gates and the gates of intercession that He's restoring. When we restore these 12 gates, we've restored the link between our heart and the Father, our mind and the Father's, our will and the Father's, our emotions and the Father's. So it's processing everything through these 12 gates that allow us to become whole and no longer fragmented. We receive the fullness of our inheritance, of our salvation that was freely given to us by Yeshua HaMashiach. So gate number one is the mouth gate. Before we speak, that function has to be restored in us of processing in the beginning God, of everything goes through the Father, looking at His Word as the plumb line. And this was one of the functions that was restored to Moses was his mouth, his speech, right? He felt like he could not speak eloquently enough to go in front of the court and Pharaoh to speak on the Lord's behalf. And he looked at that, right? Well, what happened when that occurred? Then Aaron was given to help Moses with that. A helper was given basically to help Moses complete that task. So we look at the mouth gate. And then we look at the ear gate, the next processing thing. What are we hearing? Are we hearing from heaven, earth? Were we hearing from the spiritual realm, the natural realm? Both. Are we processing it through the word with the Father? So we go from the mouth gate, something entered, right? Something entered in through the mouth. Then we go to the ear gate and we want to hear what the Father is trying to show us about this new situation, new thing, or even reprocessing a lot of things. After we do this School of Discernment, you're going to realize you need to go back and reprocess some things, maybe trauma, maybe issues from your past. It doesn't even have to be a negative thing, it can be a positive thing. But if you never process it through the Father, then you're not going to receive the inheritance that He wants His saints to have, right? So we're looking to receive from the Father, take in what He's wanting to show us through the mouth, not ingest it how we want to ingest it. We're ingesting it and swallowing it and taking it into our inner sanctum. We know the first six gates are about forming your inner kingdom, your inner resolution, your inner foundation of belief and truth, right? So the mouth gate is very important. And then the ear gate, you're wanting to make sure you're hearing the Father's voice. You're hearing from the Holy Spirit. You're hearing from the word itself on what the Holy Spirit, how He's processing it, how He wants you to see, what He's trying to reveal to you. So how you take this in, how you take anything in, if it's brought in inadvertently over the fence instead of through the gate, well, we know the word warns about that. Anything you take in that you don't go through the gate with the Father with, then it's going to be a problem. That you can't go over the fence or over the wall. You have to go through the gate. And he's talking about these 12 governmental gates that set up your foundation. And if you work this process with your thoughts, we've been talking a lot about Dr. Carolyn Leaf. I hope you've reviewed some of her neural pathway training for the 21 days of reforming a thought. It takes that long to reform frame a mindset once it's formed. You have to tear it down and you have to raise it back up correctly. We're going into Lekleka, which is the parashah for this week, the Shabbat reading for this week. And, it's about Babel, basically. And so we build up our own towers trying to reach a certain place, heaven, but it's not how the Father told us to build. We're building our own kingdom, and we're very good at doing that. We're very good at building our own kingdom. We're made in His image, so unless we filter things appropriately through these gates of discernment, then we're going to end up with Connie's kingdom, Andrea's kingdom, Angel's kingdom, everybody's kingdom but the Lord's, right? So, mouth, number one. Ear, number two, then the eye, right? It weeps over sin, covers it up. It sees hope beyond the situation if it's a negative situation. Even if it's a positive situation, you have hope, you have exhortation, you know what to do with it. So when you're seeing something, okay, so we're looking at the senses. Number one, the first gate, why does he start with the mouth and not the eye? Because typically we view something, right? Well, he's wanting to make sure that we know when we see something, you have to ingest it through the Father. You can't ingest it through these lenses. I have to go through the Father's eyes with this. So mouth, ear, then eye. But you're going to be kind of doing these things all at once. And it weeps over sin, yet sees hope beyond it. So even if it's a bad situation, you're still going to see the hope beyond it because we're coming from a victorious standpoint with the Father. We're going to cover up sin. We're going to be agents of reconciliation. And when I say cover up sin, I don't mean sweep it underneath the rug.
Mhm.
It just means I'm not focused on the sin. I'm focused on the hope beyond it. I'm bringing the hope into the situation so that we can get beyond the sin. We can wash it in the blood. We can be redeemed, reconciled, and free in all of it. So I weep over the sin, over separation of me and the Father. That's what I'm weeping over. But I also understand that the blood allows me to see hope beyond this sin. Everything's not over just because I did this horrible
Yeah.
sin or somebody else sinned against me. There's hope beyond this. I don't let it crush me. So then, if I process it correctly this far, then the heart gets engaged. Whether you do it rightly or wrongly, your heart's going to get engaged at this point. So if you shoot from the hip and you are not ingesting holy things, you automatically get up in your feels and your anger when something happens. Well, you're ingesting that death, anger, the bitterness, all of that. You're ingesting that and you're allowing your ears not to hear from heaven, but to hear from your flesh and your emotions that are taking over, and you may be hearing from your pride and your own self-righteousness at that point, right? So we learn to subdue these things by running through these gates of discernment. Before it ever gets to my heart, I'm going to make sure that I've lined it up with the word. Because if it gets to this part without me lining up wholly and I allow it to process and get to my heart and I'm not guarding my heart, well, then what happens is I get into despair, right? I feel divine sorrow and with, and I have despair. But if I process it correctly, what's despair mean? Without hope, right? But if I process it correctly, I can feel divine sorrow without the despair because I have hope beyond it, right? I didn't let the narrator of maybe my wounds and my trauma and the enemy write the narration of what's going on, right? When I'm given a bad verdict, a bad diagnosis, I have to process it wholly first, or it's going to sink into my heart and I'm not going to have hope or despair. It's already got there. Even if I'm trying to stay positive, if I haven't
Mhm.
processed it through these gates, I'm going to have despair. And that's where, we start getting into fear and fear takes hold and grips us, right? We have doubt, we have that despair. I'm worried about this and I start meditating on the worry and on the despair instead of the hope that is my portion and the calling that is my portion. And then what happens next with the fifth gate is the hand gate, right? Five for the hand. And you're writing your tablets at this point. You're taking your hand to write the tablets. The How are you going to process this? What is the covenant you're walking in? You're writing with your hand as you process through this, what's going to happen. And hopefully you're writing a redemptive action. Hopefully you're writing on your heart, on the tablet of your heart, you're it's being written as you've allowed it to enter your heart. Something is writing on your heart. It's either the Father and his word or you and your fingers, right? And I don't know about you, but I don't
Mhm.
want my fingers in there messing with my heart. Um, so, then again, I come to being the sixth gate, which is the witness. It becomes my testimony of what is going on. Okay. So when, um, you know, if you think about a situation, okay, let's talk about, let's use an example of a witness. Something negative comes out my mouth. That's the witness. I've processed it wrongly, and now I'm going to barf it all over somebody else. And it's not a testimony of grace and glory. It's a testimony of the
Mhm.
pit, right? And the prison. Because my witness is the testimony, whether I want it to be or not, it's going to flow forth because out of the witness of the heart, you bear your fruit from here, right? So we're back up to the mouth gate. If I didn't ingest it wholly, it's not going to come back out wholly.
Mhm.
I'm just going to vomit my disease upon you, my dis-ease, my separation, the iniquity. I'm going to be talking and focusing on the sin. And the Father says, cover up sin, turn your back to it and cover it up. Like they did with Noah eventually when they found him naked in the cave, right? The boys turned their back to him and covered him up because that's what the word of God says to do, right? So, we have to know that our job is to cover, to kavod, to put the glory covering, the weighty glory covering over our own sin and over everyone else's. So we have to have this testimony of grace restored to us. And that has to be our witness that, it looks bad now. And I tell everybody that all the time. Listen, we're doing a deliverance. I could manifest, you could manifest. We don't know what's going to happen here. But in the end, we're going to have a testimony of grace because we're all going to be set free. But, you know, we have to stand, which is the balance, which is the next gate between law and love. And if we're only law, well, then we're going to be vomiting out about the sin. Look what they did to me. Look what they did. Look what's happening to me. Why me? Poor me. Why am I the one that gets the crap end of the stick all the time? Why am I the one that's never chosen? Why am I the one whose health always gets attacked? Why, right? So focusing on me instead of what the Father wants me to learn as we walk through this journey together. We're going to go through valleys of despair. We have to, because it's the only way we become more Christ-like, in my opinion. There may be somebody out there whose gifting is just to be like Christ, like they don't have to go through a single test or trial. But I don't know that person, and I don't find that person in the Bible. Even Yeshua, right? He had to stand between law and love, and he was stuck between law and love a lot of times, and he was trying to pull the balance of the people back to love, but they were focused on the law, and law is what took him down. It wasn't love. It wasn't love for the Father that took Yeshua out, right? It was law of a lot of things, but it wasn't love. So that balance has to be there. And if you have to go back, if you realize, crap, I did, and like all day long, I'm like, crap, I didn't filter through the right gates. I have to go back and redo this, right? So then I have to go back and tear down as I go back to the mouth gate all the negative, basically idols that I have built, idols of anger, anything that I love or want or build that is counter Christ, that's keeping me away from Christ, that love, that anger, bitterness, all the things, and all the people that I barfed on. I now have to go pick and clean all that up and reprocess everything. And then hopefully they reprocess it because I don't want them thinking negatively about whoever I just vomited to them about, right? So the next thing that happens after you get the balance, this is the first inner layer of who you are inside. You're building this framework inside. So the first seven gates are about forming the belief, the foundation of truth within yourself. Okay. The eighth is about your identity. The eighth gate, what you've processed one through seven, is going to be your identity about that situation, that person, that thing. That's going to be how you're known. right? Because you're writing these tablets on your heart. This is now your identity regarding whatever that situation is. It could be how you're seeing the church. Maybe you got hurt at church. And so, your identity is off, right? Because now you're identifying the church as an enemy, right? And not the ecclesia. So, what I form about something forms the identity in me about it and about them. It forms both of our identities, how I process this. But the eighth gate, if you do the 1 through 7, what you should find at the eighth gate is that you really know, again, you're a friend of God, no longer a servant, because you've walked this process with Him. If I just walk it through me and my emotions, what am I going to get? A bunch of vomit, right? I'm going to get a bunch of chaos, a bunch of confusion, a bunch of pain and misery, depression, oppression, and I'm screwing up the entire atmosphere, right? But I want to process it rightly. So there'll be times when I have to go back and say, okay, I thought I did okay with this law and love thing, but today I'm feeling a little bit lawy. So I gotta, balance it out with a little bit of lovey, right? And so sometimes you may process it wrong the first time, but when you go process it again, you can find out, okay, well, I did have a little bit of God in that gate. I did do that. So maybe I got the third gate okay, but I jacked up, the other six. It processes differently as you go back and you review with yourself and the Father, and you write these things down. You write, like we talked about with Dr. Carolyn Leaf, write down the lie. Write down what you believe that doesn't line up with the word of God. I'm stupid. I'll never be set free. I'll never break away from that. I can't get away from that sin. It plagues me and I can't get rid of it, whatever it is. It could be drugs, it could be masturbation, it could be Brahms at 2 a.m. Thank God Brahms is not open at 2 a.m. around here. But or that would be mine. Luckily, it's not open, so I get up and I write stuff like this. So we we have the next gate that you have past identity that you're no longer a servant. You're not just a servant, basically. You are a servant. You're not just a servant, but you're also a friend of his. He's your lover. He loves you and he is the best for you, and you've walked another journey with him. So if you get excited, then you'll say, oh, this is just another journey with Jesus. Good, because you've walked this process. You're not scared anymore. No matter how many times, you're going to rise back up. Beauty for ashes, right? So the more you walk
Mm,
this process, the more you trust God because you've walked it with him, and the more you know how secure you are. Literally, you realize you're very secure, like nothing can harm you. Because when you walk these gates with him, you learn nothing can harm you. Though the weapon is formed, it will not take me out. I'm going to rise back bigger and stronger every time. And that's where you're a friend of God. I'm Papa's favorite, right? You know it. And you know that he's not gonna let anything stick to you that can't go through the blood. So the next thing after the eighth gate, you're starting to form the outer gate. This starts to become your outer expression. We know with the hand, it already started to be a little bit of outward expression because it's being written on your heart. So you know that as it's written on your heart, it's going to come out. So again, now after after the eighth gate, 7 and 8, you're going into desire, which is your longing for mercy over triumph. If you've filtered this appropriately, you want mercy. So you're able to outwardly express mercy towards the situation or the person that is going on. You know that mercy is going to triumph. So that's the desire gate. Your desire lines up with him, and that's that for mercy to triumph in every situation. You're blessing your enemy at this point. And then understanding, you know, when you have that desire for mercy to triumph, you're going to have the holy understanding that interprets wrath as invitation to revelation. So if it looks like the wrath of God is coming against you, you get, the worst diagnosis you possibly could, and nothing's fixing it, or you're in a divorce and you're losing the battle, and your husband or your wife is going to get the kids, and that was a big thing with me. I didn't interpret when all that was rolling out of my life. I interpreted that as the wrath of God, but I didn't take it as an invitation to revelation. I thought it was an invitation to death. And I knew the outcome. That's the bad thing about knowing the outcome of separation and, studying these things all these years, what happens. And so we have to understand that even if it looks like the Father's wrath, right? A great flood comes and destroys everybody and kills all your family. You know, is this an invitation to revelation? Are you going to have understanding? You may have to go through that filter of those first, 7, 8, 9 gates over and over. It may take you a little while before you have the outward expression that really will interpret wrath as an invitation to revelation or destruction as an invitation to revelation. But we have to know, hopefully, you've worked these gates enough that you trust that. And that's the whole point in starting to working these gates, because when something like that comes along, you want to already have a pathway in your mind, a neural pathway that goes this route. And you want to know that even though he slays me, he'll never betray me. He'll slay me because I need to die to self. But that's not a betrayal. That's actually an invitation to revelation, right? So I've got to die to self. And so the next gate after understanding, after Binah, because Binah is understanding, it's the outward manifestation of that. We're looking at peace. The 11th gate is peace. And that intercedes without anxiety. There's no anxiety on this. I've got this. I'm calm as a cucumber. So I know that, as I'm doing this with myself, it also teaches me how to help other people process things, right? So if there's a lot of anxiety and fear on something, I know we have to go back to at least gate 10 because we're missing some understanding. I might have to go back up several layers as I talk with them to find out, okay, where did this lie get in here? Where did the fear get in here? Even though it's understandable, it should not impact you. It should not cause dis-ease in you, if you process it with the Father well. It's normal to have a little bit of fear and all of that, but He comes as the comforter, right? And He covers you and He soothes you. And you know that basically you start to feel very bold and almost indestructible because you're in a victorious standpoint. You're sitting on, daddy's lap. The lowest you can get is at his right hand side, right? So, we're coming from that. And the 12th gate is intercession, right? This is the discerning through compassion. And I stand in the gap until glory returns to the situation. So, if you know you're an intercessor, well, then you know how to walk these gates already, or hopefully you do. Or this will make you a much more powerful intercessor, that you know that you have to go through these gates before you can even enter in with the Father. But we have to enter in grasping that, I have to discern, walk through, discern. I have to go in and look at this. Um, and, you know, when Moses returns to the mountain with the new tablets, his face shines, right? The glory was upon him. And that's what I need to look at. I'm going to return with some tablets, and my face is going to be full of the glory of the Lord because I've been face to face with him. And intercession transforms us, it turns us into the discerner who becomes radiant,
Mhm.
right? We're radiant discerners at this point. So if we use this pattern to process our thoughts, our will, definitely learning how to crush your emotions and not exalt them above the Lord. That's a big thing, especially for women. We have to make sure that our emotions are yielded to the word and will of the Father, and that our emotions are not what's leading us and guiding us and not what we're following. I'm not following my emotions. I'm not following my anger. Am I denying it? No, I'm anger and I am mad right now and I feel betrayed and I'm bitter, but I'm not processing through that filter. I have to go back and process through the word, and it has to be balanced. I have to get a balance in this. So if you're running with your emotions and none of the love of the word or the law of the word or any of the word, you're going to be forming hell. Okay. And we're good at that. We're women. We're going to birth something, holy or hell. So, looking at these things and understanding, I have to activate this. I have to look at asking the Holy Spirit, whose burden am I called to carry in this week? Is it mine? Is that what do you want me to process through these gates, Father? and I'm going to write their name and one promise of God over their life. This is how you would want to pray for your enemy or whoever's betraying you or your situation, right? Write down the name, write down the diagnosis, write down the situation, write down whatever it is, and then write one promise of God over that situation that can turn it around. You claim the word because the word never fails and neither does love. So, we stand every day between the pain of whatever that situation is and God's promises. And we have to speak blessing aloud, because if we don't speak it out forth, it's not going to bear witness and create. It takes the breath, the Ruach HaKodesh, the breath that was breathed into us by God to give us life, has to come out of us to give everything else life. Okay. So he breathed in me and I'm breathing out him. Right? I'm breathing out the same Ruach, the same power that has been here since the beginning when Adam was first breathed into. That same powerful breath, the same blood is still coursing through my body. And I have to know that I am the one that can bring salvation to the situation. Me. God's already done everything he can do. He can't die again on the cross. He already did that, right? He's given us everything we need through and in Christ Jesus. And so I build that promise over that situation, over that person, over that circumstance. I build that promise and I look for not just one, but if it doesn't, start to dissipate and it's still stirring in me as not settled and I'm not in peace about it, I'm going to keep on adding promises. I'm going to have layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of covenant written down and professing it every day. One, until I believe it. And then it has to be an outer expression, right? So the journey that we're going through is to shift us to feel and sense and discern and process in the spirit or even in the atmosphere that I can change realities even silently with my intercession. Okay. So just because it comes at you doesn't mean you have to receive it, right? So I don't have to receive what's said to me. I can easily say, I hear you. That gives me something to specific to pray about, but I don't receive that. That's not my portion. It may think it's there. It may be in my body, it may be in my thoughts, but it is not mine to receive. And therefore, I'm going to rebuke it and I'm going to send it back. And it may take me a while to get the power to send it back. And I got to keep on remembering this is not my portion. Death is not my portion. I'm eternal. Silly rabbit. Tricks are for kids. I didn't fall for that trick, right? Right?
Right.
So you have to have fun with this stuff. You have to have other people encouraging you, because when it hits, you're going to, when something just blindsides you, and we get blindsided, sucker punched all the time in life. I need to look at these reflection questions, right? What have I discerned about someone else's error, but failed to intercede for them, right? When have I
Mhm.
discerned someone's error, but failed to intercede for them? Because if I discerned it, and I didn't pray on their behalf, I just judged them, well, their blood's on me. That sin is on me, it's not on them, because I didn't
Wow.
I didn't intercede for them or I didn't talk to them about it, but I discerned it, right? So it's very careful that be very careful what you are brought into. That's why I tell people, I don't know how y'all do it, because I can't watch the news. I'd be judging somebody, right? I can't do it. And I don't have the ability to go to those people. So I don't want to allow anything that I can't intercede and have hands-on breath on. I don't want that in my life because one, it's not for me. I can't do anything about what's happening across the world except for to intercede. So, I'm interceding, but I'm not focusing on it. What's happening in Jamaica, right? Horrible hurricane, right? Been through a lot of hurricanes because I lived on the coast. And I know what it's like to be in knee deep water for days on end and not be able to sleep and not have, you know, electricity and all, I've been through those situations before. So, I know how to intercede on their behalf. I know how wearying that is. I know how bad, your body hurts and all these things. So I'm interceding on their behalf, but I'm not watching video after video after video of what's happened there. I'm not doing that to my psyche. I'm not going to sit there and look at the dead bodies and the devastation. I'm not going to do that, right? Or when somebody gets accused, some big pastor gets busted for sexual impropriety or whatever. Do I know them? Do I have their email? Do I have any way to go to their house and talk to them and help them reconcile and know that we're for them and not against them? I have to know what I can enter into. It's a gate. I have to choose what can come in. I choose what gets to come in here. Somebody can come and just say, I have this happen in my office all the time because they're news watchers and they're always talking about, what kid was found dead where. I don't want to know any of that stuff. Okay. I, I don't know those people. And they want to keep on. Did you hear about this? Did you hear about this? Connie, I got to tell you, I got to tell you, I got to tell you. And I keep on telling them, I don't want to know. That's not for me. That's not my portion. Take that out of my office. And sometimes they just keep on, like they have to puke it out on me. They won't stop. And they're like, no, you got to know this. You really got to know this. You're not going to believe what's going on. And they'll go ahead. And even though I say no, they'll continue. They'll just keep on saying they have to. So I just let it vomit it out. And then I just don't receive it and I let them go. I don't focus on what they're telling me. It's not mine. It's not my lane. I don't have access. And sometimes, I have to know because there's a lot of things I intercede for. If the Father wants me to know, then maybe I'll know, but I'll know when they vomit it out if it's for me or against me. And most of the time, it's almost always against me. It's not for me.
Mm.
So I have to know I have to stay in my lane. So don't feel like, as Christians, we feel like we're supposed to take care of everything. Well, that's Christ. I'm a Christian. I'm not Christ. Okay. I'm Christ-like, but I'm not
Right.
him. Right. You got to send that to him, right? And so
Mhm.
I intercede and I say, Father, take care of that, cleanse the land, whatever. We raise up what prayers we can, but are you really called to that fight? Do you have the armor and do you have the gate process down enough to enter into somebody else's battle? Most of the time in Western culture, I would say a hearty heck no. Heck no. So, we have to know that we can come to the battle and be victorious. Christ is victorious. I don't expect to enter into a battle that I know I'm not going to win. Why? He's given me tools. He's given me my armor. He's given me what I'm supposed to battle with. I have to know how to wield my weapons for him. If it's his will, he'll say, Connie, here's an address, go to it. I need you to talk to this person that's there. They're having an affair and you need to go warn them. He'll do that. He'll send you, he'll tell you if you need to go to somebody. He's done it a lot and he'll keep on doing it. You may not know the person and he'll say, I need you to go to, 5230 Wallaby Way, right? Well, off I go, right? So, I have to understand that what happens inside me when I pray from love instead of fear, I have to know that. So, what happens inside me when I pray from love instead of frustration, instead of lack, instead of fear? Because fear is poverty. Okay. So if you're in fear, you're in lack, which is poverty, and it's a poverty mindset, and you rarely will win a battle praying from fear unless you're just in the midst of an accident and you cry out Jesus, right?
Mm.
But if you're living in a state of fear and you're praying from a fear-based mindset, well, you're in lack and poverty. That's not the language of heaven. You're pretty much just talking to a wall if you're interceding long term because of fear. Don't come in lack and poverty to the king's table. Come in love, come in mercy, come in truth, but don't come in fear. Don't, that's for fear is a good thing if it's a save your life kind of moment, right? That fear gives you that adrenaline rush. It's fight or flight. It's good in that situation. But if it's marinating over you and you have an atmosphere of fear on you about a situation, then you need to take it back through the gates. you got a wrong interpretation. You listened to the wrong narrator. The wrong story was written. Okay. So I have to get back into the state of love, sound mind, which means sound mind means I'm aligned with the word and what it says. And I'm not moving from doubt, fear, neglect, rejection, abandonment, weakness, sickness, poverty, any of those things. I'm not coming from that mindset. And I have to know that I carry the Father's heart for mercy as deeply as I seek his voice for revelation. Mercy triumphs over judgment. Mercy triumphs over judgment. Mercy triumphs over judgment every time. And
Mm.
he will have mercy with your enemy if you don't. So, we have to rest in the one who stood in the gap for us. Like I have to rest in him. He already stood in the gap for me. He's interceding on my behalf. And intercession is the sound of love in motion. So praying, communicating with the Father about the situation. Listen, and Linda done hit on my husband. Lord, she this a third time, and I'm gonna take her down, right? I have to go, I have to enter in love and compassion and truth. And I can do that and be very firm with Linda. But I'm gonna come at her in sound love and sound mind and in sound truth. And I'm gonna preach the gospel to her. And it's gonna be good news for both of us. And she's gonna be set free and delivered from her lustful mindset. One way or the other. Because if the blood's gonna be on my hands, there's gonna be blood on my hands. So now
Okay.
God had to get me early, girls. He had to get me early because I would have been woo, I'd have been trouble in the other side of the kingdom. So, you know, this is where we're at this morning. I hope this word has blessed you. I hope that I'll post the gates on the Facebook page. Um, so that you can kind of have this, or if you want this, it's 128 pages and I'm not even done, or 228 pages and I'm not even done. So, yeah, so there's a lot, but um, it's pretty simple. You know, I think it's pretty simple what he's trying to get us to do. Any questions about anything? Comments?
This has been so helpful. Thank you. I'm
Good,
so grateful.
good.
And the timing is perfect, of course,
Isn't it
as always.
always?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm grateful. I'm really excited about it.
good,
Yeah.
good, good. Me too.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. I ha I have a question.
Okay, Miss Sharon, go
I
ahead.
ca- I came in late. I'm so sorry.
You're okay.
But you were saying that if you cannot get to a person or God doesn't send you to someone, then you don't kind of intervene. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, when I asked the Lord, why is this, is this something even I'm supposed to mess with, Lord? Is this my lane? I already know my lane,
Okay.
right? I've already figured
Oh,
out my identity, his purpose in my life, who I'm supposed to be, um, focusing on and ministering to, my family, my husband, my friends, you guys. And if all of a sudden there's this random thing in Chicago with somebody, that I don't know. I don't have an email. I don't have a phone number. I don't have any way to reach them to help bring them into reconciliation.
mhm.
But somehow it came into my sphere. I'm just going to pray and I'm going to make sure I don't judge because I can't judge.
Okay.
I don't know enough about them.
Okay.
If I can't interview you and talk to you about your sin, I'm not going to judge you because that's all
Okay.
secondhand. So
Okay.
I don't trust secondhand voices. Look at Eve,
Right. Okay.
right?
Mm.
Now, okay, so this question, okay, so two questions kind of like in one. For years, when I hear an ambulance, police, or fire truck or whatever, no matter where I am, I just instantly start praying.
Yeah, it's fine.
Uh,
But you don't
okay,
know what the situation is, and
right.
yeah, and did you ask God, is this, you want me to pray for that, Father? You don't always have to ask him. If he's laid it on your heart to pray for people because you hear an ambulance or whatever, that's fine.
Uh-huh. Okay.
But I also know that too much prayer is very powerful. And I've watched, I've dealt with it and I've seen it happen as I worked in the hospital for many, many years. What would happen when people were either praying too much prayer? Prayer is very powerful. It will literally jack a body up. And I've seen prayer literally be too powerful and cause people to code. Like, we have to understand the power and what's going on, and we're body, mind, and spirit. Think about the power of God. Okay, so say you're having a heart attack. Say you're having a heart attack, and all of a sudden I get 30 intercessors praying for you because your wife calls out, "Hey, pray for my husband. We're in the hospital. We're at the heart hospital and we think he's having a heart attack." Well, all of us start pounding heaven for this man, and that power surges into him. It might just you have to know, you have to have some understanding about the body. And so, ha, who do I, it doesn't need 76 people praying, right? It just one effectual prayer is enough. So sometimes I have to balance it out. And because I've witnessed this and
Mm.
I've seen, he's shown me, it happened to me, that I literally had to wrap my arms around an altar one time because I had people praying for me before I spoke. And I could, because I was kind of worried about the situation. So I sent it out to four very powerful people that I know. Hey, pray for me. I got to release a word and this, I may get killed before I get out of the building. Um, and so they, started praying for me, and my body, I felt it. I felt the power of their prayers, and I started vibrating so bad, I was bouncing, like sitting there at the altar. My body was literally bouncing from the power of their prayers. And I, I had to wrap my arms around literally the wood of the altar to keep myself just from, I didn't know how far I was going to levitate out of there, but I was holding on with all my might. My body was just boom, 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 all over that altar from the power of their prayers. And I've seen that happen in when I've prayed for people. The power when you lay hands on somebody and they have a handprint for 3 days. There's some power, okay? there's there's
Right.
we're not just this isn't just, oh, I wish they'd be okay, right? I
Mm.
wish they'd be okay. No, this is the full force power of heaven coming at people. And we have to understand the power of prayer. And I do understand the power of prayer. So I asked the Lord, do you need me to tap into that? And that's all of us. We should be a little bit scared of the power that we wield. Like, do you really want me to pray for you? Because, don't just ask me to pray for you if you really don't want to see a change. Because I'm going to hit heaven, and this could, if you're not willing to get, and I ask people that, when I lay hands on you and I pray for you, I warn them all the time. It's not easy being a Christian. You should be scared a little bit of the power that rolls through you. You should have enough reverence and awe to know the holy power of God, and they should be a little scared. They should, like, I don't know what's about to happen, but
Yeah.
I'm coming in, and I'm coming in hot and heavy and loaded. So, I'm not telling you just don't pray for people in ambulances that are going by. I'm saying, well, did you take it up with the Lord? Ask him. I don't think it's wrong. Lord, bless them. Give wisdom to those taking care of them. Let them live and not die. Let them proclaim the year of the Lord. And Lord, if they're not saved, can you have a divine encounter with them right now?
Right.
It's not like
Right.
he
Right.
doesn't know that's going on, right? He
Mm-hmm.
knows. He knows. And so, I just, partner with them. Lord, I'm partnering with the family in this, comfort them, whatever you want to pray. But,
Mm-hmm.
I have to understand that I stand between judgment and mercy, and that my discernment will carry compassion, and that I am bridging between heaven and earth in my intercession, and I'm walking in that, and I'm hearing from heaven, and I'm just loosing what the Holy Spirit is telling me to loose. It's not my prayer, it's his.
Mm.
It's
Right.
his. So
Oh, okay.
what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I'm in the throne room of heaven and I'm asking the Father, you need my help here? Do I need to tap in with you for this? Do I need
Mm-hmm.
what do you want me to do here, Lord? And there's times when he says, I don't want you to pray. Or he'll tell me, no sense in praying, Connie.
Right.
I'm taking them home.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want you, so I start praying about the transition and the family and, that I pray however he tells me to, but it's not, I ask him what I need to pray. Um,
Oh,
how do you
okay.
want me to
Okay.
intercede on this, Father? And he'll put a scripture in my heart. Um, and then there's, other times when you are shooting from the hip because it's happening real time. Somebody collapses in
Mm-hmm.
front of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we have to know we're body, mind, and spirit. And I have to know that, if I'm praying for someone who's having some kind of body issue, well, I'm going to minister to their spirit and their soul first.
Mm-hmm.
Ask Father, where are
Right.
they at here? And then go for the body because that's the easiest. The body is easiest to.
Right. Okay. So the last one. So okay. I I'm gonna have to start doing that. Now I have belonged to the multiple myeloma team for a while, but I've never actually have gotten on. And last night, I did somehow I wind up opening up the page, and there was a lady that didn't have a good day. She had a swollen foot and couldn't use it, couldn't walk or anything. So I shot her a prayer. Um, and so last night when I went to bed, well, this morning when I went to bed, I just started praying, not only for her, but other people that have multiple myeloma. And so, okay, I need to just stop instantly praying for people and ask the Father how you want me to intercede. Because I always pray for salvation, deliverance, healing, and peace. Um, so, because I don't know if they're saved, where they are in God. So, okay, I need to start asking the Father how He wants me to intercede.
Teach me how to pray, Papa. Teach me how to pray.
Yeah,
And as you're going through these 12 gates with the situation, it usually just comes to you. It's not like usually we're just in a constant flow, me and the Father and you and the Father. So it's just one of those things where it just becomes secondhand nature to talk to him about those kind of issues.
yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else before I go?
Yes, I was wondering. Okay, you said you have a teaching on the gates, and I'm wondering. So, do we just need to email you for that? Because I'm not afraid of the length of the study. It's like to me, it's just like a book because I feel like I need background information. You know,
Uh-huh.
and I
Okay.
feel like
So
this.
it's not been
This will easily.
edited.
That's okay. So
So
that's,
it
I'm
doesn't.
not looking for perfection.
Okay.
I need something to help my understanding so I can
Yeah.
move in this,
Hmm.
easier, not as like uh, the fresh baked cake. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean, they're good, you know what I mean, but they're also hot. So, um, so you have to take your time with it when you eat it. You got to let it cool off, you know. So, or the icing will melt. Yeah, it's like to me, it's almost like a tempering that needs to happen. And so I feel like that's what background knowledge does. It gives and and so I started listening to Carolyn Lee, and that helped also, you
Good.
know.
Good.
So yeah, and so
Yeah. I think it will. I think if you watch some stuff on
uh,
her neural pathway
yeah,
stuff, it'll help.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll pray about it, Zelen.
Okay, good.
Yeah, because yeah, I'm
Because I'm
just
not, and something you mentioned either yesterday or the day before, I don't remember, is that I'm not looking to um, uh, look at this like, oh, well, I think you said, well, you probably wouldn't listen to me because we got the information, so I'm not like that. That's not my use or my intention, you know. And so it's to bring more understanding so that I can,
yes. Oh, I
it
fully
just doesn't,
understand.
it just
Yeah.
doesn't waft over me, like over my head. And
Hmm.
so it's truly a download,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
yeah, I want to internalize it, so that it becomes a part of me. So I don't. And you have to listen to something. I know you say you're going to be reviewing these at different times because if you're teaching on it, you're going to have to. You're going to one is going to reveal the other, and you go back and forth and in and out of each one of those as they occur in your teaching. And so I know that happens, but I just I don't know. That's just my take on it, And so, and I'm hoping that the Lord will say yes, because when I hear you teach, I thought, oh, I need to look at something else, or read it and or get into that. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's,
No, I
it's
totally get
just
it.
my process, I guess.
Yeah, I just don't have it to where it's really shareable at this moment. We're
Okay.
working on it though.
Uh
Uh,
huh.
we are working on getting it cleaned
Well,
up. It's
you're
just
trying
got
to
a
make
lot of
it
my,
perfect. You're trying to
well,
make
it's
it
not that,
perfect.
but it's got a lot of my thoughts in there that aren't necessarily what need to be shared. It might skew
I
your
see.
your
I
viewpoint
see
on
what
it.
you're.
So,
I
this
see what you're
right
saying.
now is just me just haphazardly putting things together, and there's a lot of repetition in it that needs to be cleaned up, as well as,
Okay.
a lot of my personal thoughts that I wouldn't want to put
Uh-huh.
on somebody else. But
Okay.
anyways, I will get it taken care of shortly though. We're working on
Okay.
it. I've already
Okay.
shared it with Robin, who does some of my editing. So she's working
Uh-huh.
on it with me. But it's a lot
Okay.
because we did all 54 of the Torah portions with this. We put all 54
Oh,
of the
praise
Torah
God.
portions through this
Hmm.
pattern.
Hmm.
So I'll share Leka. I'll share that on
Okay.
Sunday, on Swordship Sunday. We'll walk through the gates with Leka and with
Hmm.
First Corinthians 14. But
Okay.
this is how I'm processing the word. I'm like using this to process everything right now. And I took
Praise
it.
God.
I've been writing a Sabbath Saver series for a long time to help Westerners who don't
Uh-huh.
know anything about studying the Torah.
Uh-huh.
um, I've been working on this writing for a long time, and I decided to put what I had through these 12 gates and ran an algorithm basically to see what would happen. So I still got to go back and review and test all that for accuracy, and
Hmm.
it's a lot.
Understand.
So
Understand.
anyways, there's a reason, all right? You know me, I would give it to you in a skinny minute, but I don't want
It's
this,
okay.
I don't, this could be, some things could be an error, and I need to make sure first.
I understand.
Okay?
Okay. Well, let me ask you this one. Let me ask you this way.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So I know you're thinking about the whole kit and caboodle. Okay. Right.
Yeah, I have a
So
student
what I'm,
workbook
so,
that I can get to you on this. There is a student workbook that I put together on this that's probably the
okay.
better thing to share. So I'll get
Okay.
that one. I'll do that quickly and get that out to you
Okay.
guys. But we're the first ones running through this together. But there'll be a
Hmm.
workbook, there'll be a complete manual. It's close to being done.
Uh-huh.
But I just wanted to go ahead and get it started.
Uh-huh.
And we're just the first ones doing it. So we're the
Okay.
trial and error bunch.
We're the
So
pilot.
or you're the pilot. That's why,
Hmm.
yeah. So, anyways, you get to be the pilot run group through this. So, we have to just understand as we close out today, before dominion comes discernment. And if we want to be the
Yeah.
wife of the lamb, as we've talked about, we need to know that before discernment comes alignment. So, we have to align correctly, then we can discern, then we can have dominion. And sometimes we're trying to have dominion before we understand alignment and discernment. So, to be the wife of the Lamb, we have to make sure that we're coming from heaven's viewpoint on everything that we're processing. And that makes a big
Wow.
difference. And that's where you're free as a Christian. You're not just saying where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom, but you're bound up as a bound up can be. It's because of the alignment and the discernment thing. We got the cart before the horse. So we're just going back and writing everything and getting back to the original design so that we can make sure that we're redeeming our perception. Because whatever we perceive, we're going to possess. Whatever you believe, that's the gospel you're going to live. So we want to make sure we can divide the truth accurately, that we're not going to be the elect that are deceived. And that we're doing this because we want to spend time with the Father, not because we're trying to build Babel. We're not trying to find another way to get free outside of Him. That this is through Him, not through a system. Okay. Although this is a pattern, we don't get focused on the pattern, we get focused on the person of Yeshua. It's to fall more in love with Him and spend more time with Him. Okay. All
Well, I
right.
still
Go ahead. I got to get off
ask,
here. You guys go ahead and
as
talk.
okay, I still wanted to ask, as you see yourself progressing where you feel like it is, maybe free to release something. If you could do that. Is that a thing?
Say that again.
Okay, you said you're going through the parasha portions, and you're looking at it that way, through the gates and through the discernments, basically. Is there, as if you see that something, oh, this one's good, this is ready, would you be willing to release it like that instead of, like I'm saying,
Yeah,
the whole kit
yeah,
and
yeah.
caboodle?
But I'm doing
That's what
that on
I'm asking.
Sunday, so you'll have that
Okay,
on. If you're on Swordship Sunday, you'll get that Sunday. You'll see kind of how to
okay,
process
cool.
it through that. Okay.
Okay, cool.
All
Okay,
right,
thank you
boys
so
and
much.
girls,
I
I gotta
appreciate it.
go because I gotta get to work.